Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, a lot of you guys have been in my comments over the last couple days, and you've been asking me, you've been saying, BT, when are you going to make a video about Abel Sanchez and what he said about black fighters? Now, some of you have been very impatient, my man. Easy does it 1980. Been shooting off at the mouth. I've been seeing him on other videos too, cursing at Abel Sanchez and stuff. But a lot of you have been impatient. So I'm gonna do the video, and honestly, really don't care what you guys think. These are my thoughts on the whole situation. So first of all, for those of you who don't know, Abel Sanchez in a recent interview stated that black fighters don't sell because they fight in a defensive manner. Now, let me say this. I don't agree with Abel Sanchez at all. First of all, that statement as it was first presented, is very ignorant. Because obviously we know Floyd has sold a lot. Fighters of the past have sold a lot. But at the same time, I do get what he was trying to say. He was saying that basically boxing fans don't want to see the sweet science. Boxing fans don't want to see, they don't want to see you bobbing and weaving and slipping 7 punches and all that stuff. They want to see people come to bring the pain. That's why when you go look throughout the course of like the highest selling pay-per-view fights in the history of combat sports, not even just boxing, but the highest selling pay-per-views in the history of combat sports. That's why Mike Tyson owns a third of the top 15 highest selling pay-per-view fights. And that was in an era where there was no social media to push the fights. You see what I'm saying? Like Mike Tyson, because of that factor of him knocking people out. It wasn't, he had some things that he did in the ring that would be deemed as the sweet science of boxing to set up things, but it was really, the Joe Schmo on the street doesn't see that. He sees Mike Tyson knocking someone out, and that's why people would pay their hard-earned money. That's why people pay their hard-earned money to watch the guy like Mike Tyson fight, to watch a guy like even now today Anthony Joshua fight. So that's basically what he was saying. He was just saying that like a lot of fighters from today, and even a lot of the black fighters, and it is what it is. A lot of the black fighters today, and not even just black fighters, but even white fighters, Caleb Plant fights in a cautious manner. Billy Joe Saunders fight in a cautious manner. So those guys are never going to be stars either. And he's just saying the underlying message of what he was saying was Canelo fought very cautious in the first fight. And he compared him to Mayweather. Luis Sandoval fight have asked him to expound upon what he was saying, and that's what he said, and they came out the wrong way. So I don't condone what he said. I think it's wrong that obviously he said that black fighters don't sell, because it's obviously not true. But he is right when he says that fans, particularly casual fans of boxing, they're not paying the hard-earned money to see you slip 7 or 8 punches. That's why they're not going to pay to see Caleb Plant slip 8, 9, 10 punches and triple up on his jab. Like I like watching Caleb Plant fight. I like watching Billy Joe Saunders fight. I like watching other good defensive fighters fight. But that doesn't necessarily mean because I like them as a hardcore boxing fan that Joe Schmo is gonna pay his money to see that. So that's what it is. Now what you guys gotta understand is, all right, and this goes for a lot of boxing fans, because I've noticed this on both sides. I've just noticed this judging how people talk about boxing and just how they judge certain fighters. Now, there's a couple simple truths when it comes to looking at the perspective of other people's boxing fans that you got to understand. And those truths are simply that most boxing fans apply stereotypes for a certain they generalize stereotypes for a certain bracket of fighters to all fighters of that bracket. So like, for example, like they'll say all Mexicans are flat-footed and come forward, or like they'll say all Russian fighters are robotic and they only throw a jab and a straight right hand, or they can't fight on the inside. So when you hear things like that, and you hear fans, even if they don't know it, when you hear fans, because of those stereotypes, because they buy into them so much, judging fighters and not being able to look at every fighter as an individual, it makes them very narrow-minded, right? So you got to understand that, not every Mexican fighter is flat-footed and come forward, and not every black fighter is a fighter who gets on his back foot. There have been great Mexican defensive fighters. Some of the best, most economical fighters of all time have been Mexican fighters. We're talking about the likes of Miguel Canto, Salvador Sanchez, Julio Cesar Chavez, Canelo, Ricardo Lopez, Juan Manuel Marquez, Vicente Saldivar. A lot of great Mexican fighters have been solid defensive fighters. Some of the better ones of all time have been solid defensive fighters. Then you can go to black fighters where they're not necessarily back foot fighters, they're more come forward fighters. So you look at the guys like Joe Frazier, Mike Tyson, Dwight Muhammad Kwai, Ken Norton. Those guys would be guys that would traditionally break the quote-unquote stereotype of what a black fighter is. And then you have your Ukrainian athletic fighters, where most Eastern Europeans will have their reputation for being, quote-unquote athletic fighters. You have your guys like Usyk and Lomachenko and even Beterbiev to some extent. So, you got to look at every fighter as an individual. You got to look at every individual as an individual. You can't make these blanket generalization. So I think that's where Abel Sanchez went wrong. He did go on by saying that, look, I trained Terry Norris to a world title and a Hall of Fame boxing career. I molded him. I taught him the style of fighting that I grew up on, which was the Mexican style. And, he was an exciting fighter. He came to hurt you. And he did. Terry Norris had a fantastic career. He beat the likes of Meldrick Taylor and Old Sugar Ray Leonard and Simon Brown and John Mugabe. He had a fantastic career, Terry Norris. So Abel Sanchez, look, the way I see it is this. Abel Sanchez to me is not a racist. I don't think he's a racist. If he was a racist, then he wouldn't have trained Terry Norris if he was a racist, right? So I don't think he's a racist. I just think, like, in that moment, he was very ignorant. Like, he used Floyd as a generalization to generalize all black fighters. Now, there is, whether you like it or not, unfortunately, there is a bit of truth to what he is saying. Since Mayweather came into the picture, really a lot of black fighters haven't been able to sell tickets outside of like Anthony Joshua, and that would let Anthony Joshua being a success would also lend credence to what Abel was saying, that fans don't want to see the sweet science of boxing, quote unquote, as far as, and when he says sweet science, he's talking about fighters fighting in an overly cautious manner, a la Floyd Mayweather, okay? Anthony Joshua is not just a cash cow in the UK because of the fact that he's in the UK, but he's a cash cow in the UK because this dude comes to put people to sleep, and he has a 100% knockout percentage, and people pay for the excitement that his knockouts provide. Well, if you knock people out, you will be a star in boxing, and that's been the case throughout the course history for the most part. So, you look at pretty much fighters since Floyd, right? Since he was at 147, a guy like Andre Ward couldn't sell. He wasn't necessarily a defensive, overly cautious fighter, but he couldn't sell. You look at a guy like Terrence Crawford, fantastic fighter. I love watching Terrence Crawford fight. He doesn't really sell. Lara, he's not. He's a Cuban fighter, but Ares Lenny Lara didn't sell. Rigondeaux didn't sell. There's been a lot of very talented, extremely talented black fighters that have not sold over the course of time, or over the course of the last few years. Now, I will also say that there has been plenty of black fighters who have sold, and that's not, a lot of it has to do with their style. I think things have to do more with styles than they do with skin color. That's just how I view things. Anthony Joshua's a cash cow, not because Anthony Joshua's a cash cow right now because of the fact that he's knocking people out. The same way Lennox Lewis was a cash cow. The same way Mike Tyson and Riddick Bowe and Evander Holyfield and guys like that, and even Pernell Whitaker to go to low weight divisions. Those guys made money, because of the fact that they were exciting in their own way. And even Pernell Whitaker, even though he didn't make as much money as the other guys, but he was still exciting in his own way. So that's what it is, man. And you look at, like, going back to someone like Anthony Joshua. This is a guy, Anthony Joshua, that broke the Sky Sports box office record for the most pay-per-view buys in his last fight with Klitschko. Why was that? Well, obviously, it was a big fight. Eddie Hearn did a fantastic job promoting him, building buzz around his name. But guess what? Anthony Joshua also went in the ring, and he did his job as a fighter. He brought the excitement, and he put that in people's head. People associate knockouts with Anthony Joshua because he's knocked everyone out he's faced. So it doesn't matter which Joshua fight you've watched, he's knocked that opponent out, and that's people are paying to see. And I think, and the way I look at it is this: Abel Sanchez is not taking away from black fighters. Yeah, he might have said in that moment that they don't sell, but then if you listen to after that statement, he says a lot of black fighters, most black fighters from today, a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them, fight in that style, and that's why they're not stars. So I don't think he's a racist. I do think the statement is very, very incredibly ignorant. the way he first stated it, but then he later would correct himself. And you got to look at Abel Sanchez with who he's trained, with Terry Norris and making him a world champion. And then how he explained things. People say, oh, well, he used Floyd as a comparison because the question that he responded to with that statement was about Floyd and Floyd being safe and Floyd being a safety first fighter as he moved up in weight. But then Abel also made the point that when this dude Floyd Mayweather fought and he was Pretty Boy Floyd at 130, 135, he came to hurt you. He came to put your lights out. And I thought he explained himself pretty well. I just think what happened in that statement was simply what happens in political media, happens in media all across the world. People took one statement out of context and they just ran with it. Now, like I said, I'm being very clear here. I do not agree with what Abel Sanchez said as far as black fighters and then not selling, because boxing history shows you otherwise. But I have an issue with people who make a big fuss out of that. And then let's transition. They make a big fuss out of that, because I've seen video after video after video about that, and I've read comment after comment about that situation. But then you have Deontay Wilder on the other side, all right? And we're just trying to be fair here on True School Sports. We're trying to call it down the middle. Like, Deontay Wilder can go on 5, 6, 7, 8 different types of interviews, whether it be on ESPN, whether it be on Fight Hype, whether it be on Fight Hub. It don't really matter what the hell the damn news outlet is. Deontay Wilder can go on those on different news outlets and say, Anthony Joshua or Eddie Hearn is just another white man milking a brother. And then he would go on to call Anthony Joshua Annabelle as like a cow. Like, he basically referred to him as a cow, calling him Annabelle. And he can go on and saying that. And there's no hoopla about that because, he's fun and he's entertaining to watch. But the fact of the matter is that's still a racially charged statement. That's still a racially charged statement. Whether it's race against a white man, race against a black man, race against a Hispanic man, it's still a racially charged statement. So if you're going to get mad about the issues with Abel Sanchez, because what he said was wrong, then you got to get mad about what Wilder is saying as well, because his statement is racially charged. And that's the problem I have. There's no consistency, because I'm looking at, like, you go do a search for Abel Sanchez and black fighters, and you go look at like the first couple of searches you find. You'll find stuff from the likes of Dante's Boxing Nation, Barbershop Conversations, guys like that. And, respect to those guys. I'm not subscribed to those guys anymore. I was at one point. I'm not. Their channels aren't my cup of tea for frequently watching. I do occasionally, maybe every now and then see what they're putting out there, because, I'm not going to lie. Every now and then those guys do put out good videos. But at the same time, I know what I'm dealing with. I've met Deontay in person. I've met I haven't really met Barbershop in person. I've just kind of interacted with him on a very minute level at a fight a couple years ago. But with Deontay, like Fred for Barbershop Conversations, Fred, he works for a publication dedicated to black news, black this, black that, black this, like. And I'm not against that. If you want to support your own, that's fine. You go support your own. But I've heard Frederick Hawthorne, Barbershop Conversations, speak about how black men need to do this and black men that and black this, black that. And when you get to that space where you're so consistently talking about black this, black that, white this, white that, Hispanic this, that's just like, that's too divisive. That's too divisive. I think it's too divisive. Or too divisive. I don't know what the hell the word is, but you get what I'm saying. Like, and these guys have a long period of doing that, but I don't hear the same outrage when they say, when Deontay Wilder says, Eddie Hearn is just another white man milking a brother. They actually, I don't know about Dante, so I can't speak for Dante, but I know for Barbershop, I heard his video, and from what I remember, he was commending Deontay Wilder for standing up to Eddie Hearn and saying what he said about Eddie Hearn, although it was racially charged. So there is no consistency. There's no accountability when people make these racially charged statements. And it's like, I'm not going to sit here and act like racism doesn't exist in the world, because it does exist. I've experienced my fair share of racism. For those of you who don't know, I grew up in South Florida, which is one of the most culturally diverse areas in the entire United States of America. So you have South Florida. I lived in New Hampshire, which doesn't know a damn thing about diversity. I went to a high school for a year of my life where there was 4,000 students, and I would say roughly 3,300 of them were probably Caucasian kids. So, and I've experienced racism in areas where there aren't much diversity. So I have my perspective on racism, and I know they have theirs. So what I'm saying is this: you can't get mad. You can get mad at Abel Sanchez for saying what he said, because I think it's wrong how he first presented it. But at the same time, you got to also get mad at Deontay Wilder. But see, the issue is, this isn't about, my issue with a lot of people on YouTube, particularly who are going with this whole agenda. It's really not about who is right, what's right. It's not about what's right. It's not about if Abel Sanchez is racist or not. It's not about that. It's about you pushing an agenda, all right? Pushing an agenda and bullying people to basically, if they don't, with a lot of those channels, if you don't praise every notable black fighter in boxing, then you are a racist. You can't criticize Terrence Crawford for fighting smaller guys, right? But then we can criticize Lomachenko for fighting smaller guys. We can't criticize Crawford for it. We can criticize the likes of I don't know. We can criticize the likes of even in the same fight. We can criticize Sergey Kovalev for, maybe a couple of times hitting Andre Ward on the back of the head. But we can't criticize Andre Ward for hitting someone below the belt or headbutting. We can't do that. It's not fair. That's racist. There's got to be consistency. There has to be consistency. And I just don't see it. And I see it always. I don't really be saying a lot about it. I might throw the odd joke here and there about the LDBC and new media, but it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous the lack of consistency they have when it comes to what they get mad about. Like what they get mad about. I mean, they're both are wrong. Abel Sanchez is wrong because, first of all, a lot of black fighters have been successful. A lot of black fighters to this day are still successful. I will say this. I think, what's ironic about all this? The irony about all these racist claims about black fighters, the reason there isn't any black cash cows in boxing right now is because of racism itself. But it's not racism from boxing media, and it's not racism from anyone else. It's racism from freaking Al Heyman. From Al Heyman. Al Heyman is the one who he cares so much about his fighters, but then he only has them fight once or twice a year. And then you look at some of the European fighters he has, like take a guy like Artur Beterbiev, for example. Artur Beterbiev had to leave Al Heyman's ass. Artur Beterbiev, one of the most talented boxers in the world, one of the best light heavyweights in the world. He had to leave Al Heyman to go to Bob Arum to fight his last fight. And if I'm not mistaken, he just recently left Al Heyman to go seek greener pastures to finally try to make something of his career, because Al Heyman has had him on the shelf for so long, and I know he's the only fighter that's like that. So I think racism is actually one of the main causes as to why there is no black cash cows, because a lot of the guys who have potential to be cash cows that are quote unquote black fighters, Deontay Wilder, Keith Thurman, guys of that nature, they're not being promoted properly. So you should be. I think again, let me be clear. I don't agree with Abel's statements at all, but you should be more mad about Al Heyman for not promoting his own quote unquote his own people more, because there's no reason why Deontay Wilder shouldn't be one of the most famous sports stars in America. The dude has a damn near 100% knockout percentage. He's one of the most colorful personalities in boxing. But I could walk down the streets of South Florida right now, the greater Miami area, one of the bigger markets in the country, and nobody ain't gonna know who the hell Deontay Wilder is. And there's a problem with that. So, I mean, is Abel Sanchez wrong? You're damn right. You bet your ass he is. But, where's the outcry for Deontay Wilder? Where's the outcry for Deontay Wilder? Where's the pressure? Where's the pressure from the same people who say, like, oh, this guy is not popular for this reason and that reason? Where's the pressure on Al Heyman to make these guys fight each other more frequently, and make these fights happen more often, or to get on a consistent schedule to where the American public can get familiar with these fighters? Where's the pressure on him? You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's just no consistency or accountability. And I just think what's happening right now in boxing is just a microcosm of what's happening in the world. Like, you have, in the political realm, you have the liberals and the Republicans spewing off two completely different narratives. And there's a lot of division going on in the country right now. And I think a lot of times too, what's happening is people it's very easy these days because everybody's so quick to be a social justice warrior or an activist, or, you know, everybody wants to feel like they're doing something. So they always got to call someone racist, or, you know, nobody can just look at things for as they are. And that's the problem I have, which is not just boxing, but the world in general. Is that there's no accountability anywhere. So, yeah, no, I don't think Abel Sanchez is a racist, but I think what he said was racially motivated. The same way I feel Wilder isn't a racist. Like, he may be a little ignorant, but like Wilder has guys in his camp. Wilder has plenty of guys in his camp who, you know, his trainer is Caucasian. One of his trainers is Caucasian. JD's is Caucasian. Okay, so, you know, I don't think. I mean, if you were gonna pick who was more racist out of the two, I think you probably say Wilder. I would say Wilder is more racist than Abel Sanchez, because Wilder is the one who multiple times made it a point to say in 4 or 5 different interviews where say, Eddie Hearn is milking Anthony Joshua. He's another white man milking a brother. Like, that's about as racially motivated as you can get. So, I mean, to be clear, Abel Sanchez is wrong, but let's be consistent. If we're going to call racism out on one side, let's call on the other. And you know what? Like, I'm ready for it, because I know in the comments there's going to be a lot of, you know, BS spewed in the comments. And that's fine, because I understand that, you know, you guys think you think anytime someone says something bad about, you know, black people, there's an issue. And there's an issue. Racism of any kind is wrong. But to not recognize racism on both sides is ignorant. I think it's classless. And if you fail to recognize it, you're either incompetent, or you're either incompetent, or you just don't care. You just don't care about people. It's all about you being superior to someone. When at the end of the day, we're all humans. You know, if I were to cut my skin wide open, I bleed red, you bleed red. So we're all humans at the end of the day. It's not, you know, race isn't a race to see who's better than someone. You know, our differences are what make us unique. So, not to get too preachy here, but that's just my opinion on the whole matter. You know, I hope I cleared it up for you guys who kept fucking asking me in the comments, you know, when do you make a video? So there you have it.